So we've already showed you guys how we were able to keep water inside the camper from freezing during the winter, but if we can't figure out how to keep water outside the camper where we store it from freezing, then all of that's going to be useless.
For no heating elements, no grid power, and nights dripping below zero.
I thought to myself, what if I get my water so hot during the day that it doesn't have time to freeze at night? Now, I'm not trying to make hot water. We've got a hot water heater inside the camper. I just don't want ice outside.
And somehow, despite all common sense, this system hasn't frozen once. Even on nights where my solar batteries tapped out and everything else was questionable, the water tank just did its thing, which is
Kind of rude because now I have to explain how all this works.
There are three real problems here. One, how do we warm the water during the day? Two, how do we slow heat loss at night? And three, how do we keep fittings, pipes, and hoses from freezing without plugging in a space heater and draining my solar batteries? We will be cheating on this section here. On three, we're definitely gonna cheat.
So hose fittings, fixtures, all that kind of stuff that normally sits on the outside of your house or on the outside of your RV always freeze first. So I solved that in a very, very intelligent way.
I dug a hole, a big one, all by myself. No one helped me. I'm a man. I don't need to ask for directions, and I don't need help. Okay, maybe I had a little help, but I did not need it. I dug down below the frost line so all the fittings and connections live underground, where the earth is warmer and way more stable than the air. Below the frost line, the ground doesn't swing temperatures fast, and it holds on to heat like it's emotionally attached to it, which in this case is a pretty good thing. I framed the sides so the dirt didn't cave in, and gravel at the bottom for drainage, and foam board insulation on the sides because I use foam board for everything to slow heat loss.
Now, I didn't insulate the top of the tank, and this is absolutely critical for my plan, but we will get there.
By burying the tank, the ground is now working as a massive thermal battery. I'm not heating the water yet, I'm just hiding it somewhere warm.
Problem is that buried water still loses heat and won't retain heat that it's already lost. So I've got to find a way to get heat back into my water. And so I decided to steal a bunch of heat from my solar panels. My solar panels up here, they weren't using the heat, so I figured they wouldn't mind.
Solar panels are only about 20% efficient, which sounds terrible until you realize that means 80% of the sunlight turns into heat. The heat is just sitting there, playing all coy and hard to get and doing nothing useful.
Hot air.
You're so silly.
So I built a shed under my solar panels. No roof on the shed, just the panels themselves covering that structure.
So during the day, the solar, in addition to, like doing its main function and making me electricity, is generating heat. The shed then takes that heat and traps it right above my water tank and protects that area from wind, stripping all that heat immediately away.
One night I accidentally threw scrap insulation on top of the tank. This is the only night we saw even a little bit of icing.
Which is why the top of the tank is uninsulated. So counterintuitive, I know, but if I were to insulate the top of this, it would stay a little bit warmer for a little bit longer, but it would never heat back up to the degree I need it to heat back up to for the system to actually work. I want this heat radiating from my solar panels going straight into my tank. So the top stays uninsulated. So now, behind here, we've got our water tank buried. We've got our fixtures underground. The whole thing is protected from wind. The solar panels during the day is heating this shed up. But now I need to find a way to slow heat loss down inside the shed to give our water a fighting chance.
The tank is already buried and the shed is already built, so we already have really good wind protection and a bit of thermal protection from the ground. So now we're going to insulate the walls of the shed, seal any crack we can find, and generally make it as difficult as possible for warm air to escape our structure. These layers of insulation mean that the shed will naturally be warmer than the ambient temperature outside. So not only do we heat up more during the day, we're not fighting the true ambient temperature at night. We've created kind of a middleman to contend with instead of the big boss, which is 0 degrees outside.
So water is an absurdly good heat sink. It absorbs heat fast and it gives that heat up slowly, especially when you protect it from the wind like we've done with this shed here. This insulation just acts to help accelerate that process. During the day, it's going to heat up faster. Our water is going to heat up faster. At nighttime, as the shed cools off slower, our water cools off slower. We don't have to have the insulation, but it's an accelerator to this whole process. It is like really hot underneath these panels right now. Like, I'm gonna take my shirt off soon. We actually have our water not freezing at nighttime. Now I need a freezeless method to get my water from the shed and to my camper.
Water lines freeze. Always, immediately, first. It's annoying, but it's a reality. So we dig some more because we're always digging. But also, we should definitely cheat a little bit. This is the section here where we cheat.
We just buy a heated hose.
I buried a 2-inch pipe about 18 inches down, so not below frost line, but still a little bit protected, and ran both a heated hose and a non-heated hose through it. I don't know why I ran 2 hoses through it, guys, but it felt right in the moment.
So the pipe protects the hose, traps heat, and then the ground keeps everything stable around it. All we do is we plug in this camper hose about 30 minutes before we start filling, and we haven't had any issues with intaking ice from the line.
The reason why this works is the heat stays inside the pipe instead of blowing away, and the earth keeps everything calm and protected. No one's tripping over my stuff.
But a project would not be a project if it didn't require me to drive an hour to the next city, go to Home Depot, get some component that I forgot to fix a problem that I wasn't anticipating. And this was definitely a project.
Because the tank is lower than the pump is, water after pumping would drain back into the tank, and that would trap air in my hose.
The pump did not like that. It started making angry noises. There may have been some smoke involved. The problem was real.
So I installed a check valve at the lowest point. Check valves allow the water to flow in one direction, so for me, towards my pump, but does not allow the water to backflow into my tank.
So now the pump stopped producing magic smoke, there was no more angry noises, we were back on track. Problem solved, problem staying solved. So this is actually the first project of Redneck System that I've done that actually worked completely the way I planned it to work.
It wasn't fancy, but it took advantage of what I already had and made it work in my favor. Water stores heat well. Let's use it as a thermal mass for itself. Solar panels give off heat. Well, let's figure out how we can use that heat. The solar mount is already built, so, let's put it all there and use what's already on our land.
It's not about finding the exact perfect solution or going to Home Depot and spending a ton of money. It was about observing what systems I already had on my land and then trying to figure out how I could use those together with minimal, purchases here and there to actually make a system that worked. All this really cost me, since I already had everything else, was a little bit of piping, a little bit of insulation, and of course a check valve along the way, and we were able to get this thing set up. Even sub-0 degree nights have not frozen this system yet. Even when I've made mistakes, left the thing open, it still has been good for us all night long, and I have spent the least amount of money out of all my systems on keeping my water warm at night, which is honestly kind of offensive because the other projects really need to pick up their game. Rolling?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.